what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box?
You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me.
Freehand is beating his net at the plate. Crawford is over there watching. Good see, sir. You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on. Oh, I must be in the front row.
So we added the Milwaukee Brewers.
Brew Crew!
And I think you got a little explanation of how we arrived to that.
Yeah, so we kind of hinted at this we've been doing podcasts so sporadically. It was probably like 2 months ago, but
yeah, I think it was in August.
Yeah, we started to hint at, a possible realignment of teams. And I had thrown out, what about, why don't I take on the Milwaukee Brewers? I've always liked the Brewers. I've always enjoyed going to the new ballpark. I didn't like County Stadium very much, but the new ballpark.
You went to County at one point?
Yeah, one time to watch the White Sox. My dad and I went up there, but that was kind of a dump, really. I mean, there's no other way.
I've seen pictures. It did not look very good.
No, it was not. But they got it right the second time. Like, I don't think they could have gotten any more correct. And my major step forward with the Brewers was last year, 2024. I had that horrible experience at the White Sox games with my kids over spring break where they had us go to the ballpark.
That's right.
The game was supposed to start in about 20 minutes. And around that mark, as we walked through the gates and the snow was starting to dissipate, but it had been snowing all morning, they said the game is canceled. They made us all go down to the ballpark. Anyway, you can hear the story on an earlier podcast, but it was a really piss poor experience that the White Sox provided. The only way we were able to see baseball that week, because the weather was so horrible in the Midwest, was we went up to Milwaukee, where they were intelligent enough when they rebuilt their ballpark to put a roof on it, a retractable roof. And we had quite an enjoyable experience. And my kids were even like, well, this is like really fucking cool. And the tickets were cheaper. The food was cheaper. You got to trek up an hour and a half, but the experience is so much fun that Robin and I had said, you can actually we could become Brewers fan.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it's the same. Yeah. The same. It was easy for me to jump into the Cubs because they were not, they were a completely different league from the Tigers. So you a lifelong Sox fan. It's not the Brewers used to be in the American League. I believe you were in the same division.
Yeah, we were.
But I would think those allegiance or those rivalries have gone away. So yeah, it seemed natural.
Yeah,
you mentioned it.
And then the idea that they, piss all over the Cubs for the last 3 fucking years in the NL Central.
That's more than that.
Yeah, I mean, but the Cubs are so envious of the Milwaukee Brewers. They think the reason the Brewers won was because of their manager. But the harsh reality of that is not the case, as we've seen with the Cubs. So they snatched their manager, and the Cubs have yet to have any real fruitful results from that acquisition.
Brewers only get better.
Yes. The Brewers won their most games over the last run of the NL Central without Craig Counsell. So there you go. But
that's the other extension of enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, you obviously hate the Cubs, so why not go after the nemesis of the North Side, the Brewers? I mean, it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and let's be honest, if the Sox were to hightail it out of town and I had to adopt a nearby team.
Oh, you've had to think about this. I didn't even realize
it would naturally be the Brewers, because as you and I both noted, if we didn't have local teams or we were coming from out of the country into America, it would be the fucking Brewers because it's the coolest name of all the teams.
The beer theme, the logo is fucking cool.
Yes.
It's good. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it is, they kind of got it all right. They have a $4 fucking menu at the fucking ballpark. Who does that? no major league team in our markets anyway. But I wanted to, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Milwaukee Brewers, I wanted to just kick off this inaugural podcast of Embracing the Brewers with a little, just quick little Brewers history. And then the reason, even more so than my love for the Cubs, of adopting the Brewers, but really record-wise and more than geographical, why they fit so well with this fucking this podcast. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. So let's just do a quick little history. In 1970, the Seattle Pilots relocated to Milwaukee, courtesy of Bud Selig, who we all later on went on to not like so much as the commissioner of baseball. Of course, they adopted the name Brewers, as we already talked about, because of the rich brewing history of Milwaukee. And having gone to Milwaukee several times in my life, probably about a dozen or so, I've taken brewery tours up there. It's awesome.
It's a cool little town.
It is a cool little town. Very reasonably priced. You can get a lot out of your dollar in Milwaukee. Bernie the Brewer, I don't know if you knew this, but Bernie the Brewer, their mascot, who slides down the beer slide, I guess we'll call it, at the
that part I knew.
Brewer game, was actually modeled after a fan who camped out at the old stadium scoreboard in 1970 to encourage attendance. So apparently the whole Bernie the Brewer comes from an actual fan who sat on top of the scoreboard at Old Shitty County Stadium and tried to encourage people to come to the games.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I guess that's the whole idea of like sliding down the slide because he was on top of the scoreboard. More liquor tie-ins. In 82, the Brewers nickname for that team was the Harvey Wallbangers because of their manager's name, who was Harvey something or other. But of course, a Harvey Wallbanger is a famous alcoholic beverage.
I don't think I've ever had one.
They hit 216 home runs that year.
It's pretty good.
And now we'll get into the reason why they're so perfect for this podcast. One, they will be the only team on this podcast to never have won a World Series. But that seems to be almost fitting for this podcast because it's rare air for this podcast to have a World Series champion. As I pointed out, they have won, however, the last 3 NL Central championships. Let's start. They have 11 playoff appearances, and their overall lifetime record is 489. The oldest of our teams on here is, of course, the Cubs, who actually formed as the Chicago White Stockings back in 1876. Over that lifespan, they have 22 playoff appearances, 3 world championships, and you'll start to see the fittingness of this, a 513 over their team since 1876. They've won just over 500 games. Yes. The White Sox, who formed in 1901, as did the Tigers, have
charter members of the American League.
Yes, have 11 playoff appearances. Sound familiar? Yes, we just heard that from the Brewers. They have 3 championships, and of course, mirrored in mediocrity, have a 498 winning percentage. So they're right there, almost 500. And the Tigers, the cream of the crop of, and that's not saying much, of this podcast, 18 playoff appearances, 4 championships, and a 503 lifetime winning percentage. So you can see how the Brewers just kind of nestle in perfectly with the rich history of winning of this podcast, the rich historic history of the teams in winning on this podcast. So,
well, that's great. I didn't know you had all that history and statistics prepared. So I love it. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Beyond the geography and everything else, and the nemesis of the side. I think it makes perfect sense. You brought it up a couple months ago. I love the idea of changing things up. It made a lot of sense. We've had 2 teams on the West Coast, which is kind of a disconnect for us for a while. I think putting Milwaukee in favor of our West Coast friends. Sorry to see you guys go, but I think it makes perfect sense, and I think it's gonna be so much fun going forward. Because shit, I wish we had tried this earlier, or maybe a couple of years ago, because you would have had a fucking field day with how how the Brewers just always find a way to be better than the Cubs, no matter what, no matter all the advantages the Cubs have over a franchise like Milwaukee. They fail every fucking time, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
One guy poured beer all over my head. The guy said, how can you take that? I said, look, that man didn't do nothing. He poured some beer on my head. He's just showing he's a White Sox fan. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Sparky, a million thanks for, as always, the most interesting interview. And now today, let's just have a lot of thrilling baseball and not so many fisticuffs.
Word Hole Media.